What's going on, YouTube? I'm in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I'm kind of just lollygagging around right now until about 5 o'clock. That's when I start to work. So I'm just relaxing. Long day. Well, yesterday and the other day, long day of driving. But I got something amazing. So I'm reading this book. I'm reading this book, and let me make sure that I'm saying this right. I'm gonna look at my Zoom player here. Okay, the title of this book is called "How to Win Friends and Influence People" by Dale Carnegie. And I'm telling you right now that this is probably one of the most important books I've ever read, and I'm gonna tell you why. The reason why this book is great is because a couple reasons. If you don't know how to handle people, right, you probably won't be successful. Now, before I even go into the book, some people say, man, sometimes your topics are all over the place. What is your main goal with your channel? My main goal with my channel is to tackle life, whether that's business, whether that's finance, whether that's character, sometimes that's religion. It's just to talk about life things that make us think. Things that I have questions about, that I think about, and I try to get your opinion. So it's about those things. Anything that I think that is important to me in life at that time. But this is important because some people out there right now don't have any friends, and not because they don't want any. It's because they're known as a grouch. It's because they don't know how to talk to people. Usually when they're in a conversation, everything's about them and not about the other person. It's mostly I have a house, I have a this, I have a that, but it's never a conversation about that individual. I mean, even when it comes to your spouse, even when it comes to your wife, you don't have any conversation. You guys argue a lot. You're very argumentative, with other people. But here's the thing, though. I'm guilty of a lot of these things. Now, when I first started YouTube, I didn't know that when you have a disagreement or you say something, that sometimes people come to you like they're ready to chop your head off. No one warned me about that. So when that first started to happen, I didn't take that well. Like, you mean you just took a stab at me and you just insulted my intelligence and all of this other stuff, and you expect for me to just to sit back and just to take that? And a lot of people will say, man, you know what? Don't argue back with them because it's not worth your time. And I used to be like, well, he just took a stab at me. Why can't I argue back at him? First thing I learned in that book, on the audio book, is that when you argue, you will never win. Now, see, that right there is a powerful thing, not just for myself and you guys, but it's for the leaders itself. We have guys that can't get along with other countries, all because of pride, all because of what they want, right? But it can't be a win-win situation. Like, we can't say, hey, America wants this, right? But you want this. Let's find a compromise. If they just followed the principles in this book, we wouldn't have half the problems that we have today. People suck when it comes to human relations. Now, there's one part of the book where it says this: in order to win, in order to get what you want, you have to let the other person win. And then at first, the first thought that comes to your mind is, I got to let that person win? But what about me? You will win also. When you let someone else win, you win. And I'm just like, man, these things are just foreign to me. How is that true? And they gave a couple of examples of in the situation. They just said that, first of all, you will never change anyone. They will change themselves. You will never change anyone. They will change themselves. So I can't speak directly to someone and say, hey, man, you know what? You need to change your ways. Because what you're doing right now is incorrect. You're ruining your family. You're doing this. You do this. Shake up. Shake this guy to death and say, change your ways. 9 times out of 10, that won't happen. So then all these thoughts will come to my head. I remember some things that people said, some wise people said a while back. They said people change for 2 reasons: inspiration or desperation. And most people change because they're desperate. The economy changed not because smart economists came out and said, hey, these subprime mortgages are bad, we need to stop this, whatever. You look at videotape, those tapes are everywhere. We shouldn't have done this, we shouldn't have done that. But when did it stop? When things hit the fan. Then people started listening. When does a person know that, hey, they should stop spending? Hey, when the credit card's maxed out. When the bank comes and say, hey, we need your house. And the car company says, hey, we need your car. That's when people change. So I'm relearning everything I thought I knew about people. I'm at the elementary level. I mean, it's crazy how people think. Now I have a different, what's the word I'm looking for? Appreciation for guys like Abraham Lincoln, leaders who've led things and had many men behind them, and the men behind them actually love them. Think about it. There's a lot of you right now who hate your boss's guts. You can't stand him. He talks down to you. He doesn't know your birthday. He doesn't know you have a wife or kids, anything. He doesn't know nothing about you. You hate his guts. But he's losing. Because guess what? If you work for a guy and you hate his guts, you're not going to give that guy your all. If you happen to be a boss and your employees hate you, you need to read this book. I started applying the principles. I've always been a guy, and this is just the southern roots that I have. If I see a person at the cashier and I see them, whatever, I always ask this question: how are you doing? A lot of people look at me like, are you really concerned about how I'm doing? Yeah, you're a person in front of me. I have never met you before. I know you're at work, but at the same time, you're a person. I want to know how you're doing. Is it busy today? A lot of times when I ask that question, I get a lot of positive feedback. I get two things: a lot of positive feedback, and they will hold up the line. At that point, they will answer the question, and then they will start talking about everything from their dog to their kids' soccer game to everything, until the point where you get dirty looks from people in line. My wife had to tell me to stop asking that question, but I didn't know that question lined in what this book is saying. A lot of people don't get to tell their story. They don't get to tell who they are, what they're about. When someone takes the time to ask them about that, hey, they want to spill their beans. I want you to try that. The next person you see, the cashier, whatever, smile. First thing, give them a smile. Let them see that you're genuine, and then ask them a question. Genuinely, how are you doing today? Is it busy in here today? Is it busy? I bet you're ready to get off. You say those sentences right there, you're about to get your ear full of information. So this conversation right here, guys, I may spend some time on this one, because I think that this is a good thing, a good topic to talk about. I think these skills are something that all of us can learn from. So there's a lot of other points. I was saying, how many of you guys have read this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People? Talk about it. So let's say what you've learned from this book. If you're a leader, or you're trying to lead people, or your wife, or trying to get your kids to do their homework and it's not working, you're yelling and screaming, read this book. So let me hear your questions and comments about it, guys. I mean, this book was written in the 1930s, and man, it's changed. It's changing, not changed, because I still got a lot to learn. It's changing my life. So I'm going to leave it as that, guys. Let me hear your comments, and you guys like what you hear, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time.